Speaking of players with very low stocks, Deandre Ayton has been a subject of criticism and a player often thrown around by his team. Rumors, reports, we don't want you over the last 2.5, 3 months. And he signed an offer sheet with Indiana because Phoenix kind of told him to. 4 years, $133 million, and the Suns matched it within minutes. After a few weeks before, John Hollinger is coming out with reports saying it seems more likely than not Phoenix doesn't want him back. And now he's going back to a place in Phoenix where Monty Williams, the last time we saw him, the two of them together, he was saying, "You quit on us," before he benched him in a game 7 in the second round. After the Suns broke their franchise record in wins and quite honestly looked like the best team in basketball that would be upset if they didn't go all the way to the finals for a second straight year. And DeAndre, I got a lot to say. Justin, we actually didn't talk about this before the show, but I want to know your take with this new contract, as Chris Paul ages, will DeAndre be an all star on it in the Western Conference? And the next step of that question, next evolution is, will he be the number two alongside Devin Booker for the years to come? Because it doesn't seem to me like those two have a really strong relationship together from the outside looking in.
Yeah, I think that's a big concern. Personally, I don't think I feel like Phoenix was in a situation where could they have gotten anything better than DeAndre Ayton this offseason if they let him walk? Probably not. Unless you were acquiring KD, but that seems already off the table. So at the moment, the way I look at Phoenix, I feel like that championship window is really just closing. It's Aiton doesn't to me, he doesn't seem to be that guy that's gonna step up and get you the big boards and put up those points. And like you said, while CP3 is aging, Devin Booker and Aiton don't seem to have that relationship in order to mesh into a championship team when CP3 is out of the picture. So really, I feel like the Phoenix roster it's filled with tons of question marks. I felt like they should have been jumping to get KD to get this guy out of there because at the moment, this isn't a championship team to me. Can they get? Yes, but
So I mean, I think they were jumping at KD. It's just that they kind of handicapped themselves because I believe that they had the opportunity to sign DeAndre in last year to
Indeed.
the extension and the max contract. It would have been for cheaper money, I believe, than this time,
So it would have
and
been
they would have been able to include him in the trade for KD because the contracts wouldn't mess up with the Ben Simmons. I believe.
so it would have been 5 years. So this is 4 years, and that would have been 178. So right around the same, a little bit more money because the Suns could offer him an extra 5%.
okay.
The difference though was DeAndre wanted the full 5 year max. They
Yeah.
were offering a similar deal. This was 4 years worth, a little bit more. So you were right on that. This is a little bit less. I just want to say that for
So
you.
yeah. So I mean, they shot themselves in the foot. You know what I mean? Like they couldn't, and now they can't trade him until January 15th, I believe. So and they had to match the deal from Indiana because if they lose him for nothing, then it's just Chris Paul and not DeAndre, Devin Booker, and that's not going to be a team that's going to compete with these other guys. You need DeAndre, and he is for what he's not, and we understand he's not. He's not a very high motor guy. The uh the intangibles are questions there. I mean, Monty Williams really like question. I mean, he benched him in the fourth quarter, I believe,
First half, I
in the
think,
first
honestly.
half. Sorry.
I stopped watching after the first quarter. I was watching, I was tuned down and started doing my work. I
Yeah.
was done.
So I mean, it's a question mark. Can that be corrected? Yeah, you can learn that. You can learn to have a high motor. It's all about the want to. Do you want it? Is it in here? You got to have a conversation with yourself when you're alone and be like, do I want this or do I just want to be eh? Because DeAndre, and I think if he wants it, he can be a 23, 24 point a game scorer with 11 to 12 rebounds a game and a block and a half a game for a season. I think that can be his ceiling, maybe even higher. If because I mean, without the high motor, he's what 17 and 11 right now with a block a game, easy right there. So I mean, Phoenix is really just messed themselves up. I mean, they had the opportunity. I mean, I think Aiton, Mikal Bridges, maybe probably Cameron Johnson, and a couple first round picks for Kevin Durant. I think that would have been a very enticing offer, especially from the deals that are getting thrown out that are not
Mhm.
looking that good for KD. So I mean, as far as the window closing, I think until CP retires, they've got the window is open because Chris Paul is still that guy. I understand he flamed out in the last series that we saw him in, but the series before that, we saw him completely ball out and play some of his best games he's ever done in his career. So we got to, you know,
You
level
gotta
it out right there.
level
So
it
I'm
out.
going to give him another shot this year and see what he's got, Chris Paul, to see if the age has really caught up to him, which I don't think it really has. I can't really explain what happened. I'm just gonna say it was an off series for Chris Paul, and he'll return to form this upcoming season. So, but yeah, if Chris Paul when Chris Paul does retire, we're gonna see those Suns go back to what the Suns were before Chris Paul was there, and that's a not a playoff team
Ooh.
and probably fighting for a play-in tournament.
We'll talk about Chris Paul in a second. Do you guys have a comparison for DeAndre Ayton? Sort of an analog that he reminds you of?
Hmm,
I have one.
let's hear it.
A quicker LaMarcus Aldridge. The
I
difference
would,
is he's much better on defense.
yeah, but also Lamarcus is a better shooter all around.
I have a couple of stats for y'all. DeAndre, he's not the type of player, he's not Shaq. He's not going to hit you with a post spin and dunk
Mhm.
it in your chest. He's actually very reliant on touch. He shot 77% at the rim this last season and 56% from mid range.
Well,
56%.
I was talking more about outside shot because Lamarcus could stretch the field, the court.
Well,
I should say.
the three ball didn't really come around until later in his career, if I'm not mistaken. I may just be making that up. I'll check in a brief moment. DeAndre is one of the most unique center prospects we've seen because it was all about a center that's coordinated
Mhm.
and has really good length. He's developed so much in terms of touch that on short rolls, when you give him the ball from 4 to 12, 14 feet, the dude's automatic. I've never seen a player outside maybe Jokic or the last decade that has as good touch while I've watched the NBA at the center position. His touch is incredible, and he's 7 foot, so you can't block it. And he's so quick with his moves. You give him the ball, he constantly relocates to make himself an outlet in the Suns' offense. It's one dribble, quick spin, post hook, fade away. It's automatic because no one can actually contest it. And if I'm an opposing center, he's straddling in a space where he's not at the rim. He's playing from like 6 to 8 feet. So if I'm dropping back, it's money every time he gets the ball in that area, that little in between spot. And with the Suns' offense, it fits in perfectly because all of those starters are elite from mid range. Chris Paul, Devin Booker, those guys in the clutch live there. Mikel's another guy, and even Jay Crowder. I didn't even realize that until I checked on cleaning the glass that shot over 50% from mid range. So all their starters were. That's the issue.
So I
That
got a
right
question,
there.
John.
Yeah.
So with Ayton in the fold still, do you believe Phoenix's window is still open, or
Their window would have closed if Kevin Durant went there. Absolutely. Because their starting center wouldn't have been JaVale McGee, it would have been Bismack Biyombo. He's the guy that can give you 15 to 17 minutes. If you lose your best defender, Mikal Bridges and Cam Johnson, you're giving up so much to get a player like Kevin Durant, who has shown us he needs all the things around him. He needs the coaching, the GM, the supporting cast. He's not actually number one when there's limits. We just saw that in Brooklyn. They didn't have that center. They didn't have those wings.
Mhm.
Guess what? In Phoenix, it would have been the same exact thing. Is Devin Booker, when Kyrie's healthy and playing, better than Kyrie? Slightly. He's a better defender. Offensively, I would say Kyrie's more skilled,
I
but
would take Kyrie.
okay, that's reasonable. And Chris Paul, yes, he's better than some of those Nets guards. Not he's better than all of them not named
better
Kyrie.
all of them?
But it's the same exact thing. You don't have the wings, you don't have the depth, you don't have the center because you're sacrificing all that to get KD. And that's what the Nets would have wanted. Otherwise, they're saying to themselves, we got KD for 4 years. We're not trading him unless we get Bridges, Cam Johnson, and stuff when you send DeAndre Ayton to another team because we don't want Ayton. But DeAndre is so good. He's got the quickness, he's got the touch, and a fluidity for a big man, which is really unmatched. The issue is, as number three, it's so tough. There's the trade rumors. Chris Bosh, Kevin Love, we were talking about Russell Westbrook before. All of these centers, they are the scapegoat when it doesn't go well. Chris Paul and D Book have 2 points in the first half. We're pointing the finger at DeAndre Ayton. That's what it seems like to me. When in reality, he's the one that feeds off of those two because the third man is always going to be the one that's playing off of them. He's feeding off of how well they play. And when Chris Paul in the postseason has those elite moments, so does DeAndre Ayton. The issue with Chris Paul, whether it's the injuries, bad luck, his body at 36 years old, Chris Paul is never in his career, and odds are because we've seen it for the last decade, He can't do that. He can't be that top 10 main man for an entire playoff series. He can do it in moments. For a series, he can do it. But once you get 3 rounds in, when the dude's playing 70 games in the regular season, which I guess is a pride thing because he wants to do that and show he's healthy and he can play all the games, every time his body breaks down. And when you have defenses that know exactly what the Suns are trying to do, which is get to their spots in mid range, and they're athletic, they're physical, and they jam in, the Suns, I don't know if you guys realize this, their shot diet is absolutely screwed. They don't get to the foul line. Like Ayton, he gets to the foul line less than 2 times a game. Think about how bad that is for a center. Because all of his shots are just, floating jumpers and jump hooks. He doesn't actually take it to guys, which hey works. He's efficient. But when you need reliable offense, most of their shots, 41% of them, almost half come from mid range. And that's so much different than the rest of the league. It's just the fact they're so good at it in the regular season, they're able to win so many games. But in the playoffs, defenses are aware this team wants to get to their spots. And when they really put pressure on CP, they attack him defensively. He's small, he's old. And most of all, they say, you're going to have to beat us by stressing yourself out, trying to create your shot off the dribble. Look at Boston. They're trying to get to the rim and get 3 pointers. With Phoenix, the 3 pointers aren't opening up because defenses are making them consistently. You're going to have to beat us off the dribble. You have to create your own shot. It's really tough as an offensive player when you have to work for those opportunities for a 2 point shot. It's worth one less point than a three. So for offense, it's so much less efficient and it wears your body down sooner just because of the fact it's not threes and layups, it's mid rangers. And we saw that in the finals in 2021 when Drew Holiday put the pressure on Chris Paul. It was so much tougher for them to actually get their shots off, and it wore them down as the series went on.